Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I'm your host Ray Schoenberg, and it's the third Monday of the month, and that means I get to review a Razzie-nominated film. And today I'm reviewing Rambo: Last Blood. The movie came out in 2019, stars Stallone and Paz Vega. In this movie, for the more relevant, or not relevant, for the more recent, the more current generation, the connection would be Home Alone, because he's at home and he's preparing for war. So, looking at Kevin McAllister, if Kevin McAllister was an adult and psychotic, he would be Rambo, an elderly Rambo at this time, and because he's been on the farm now for 10 years, and he's trying to cope. He has a niece, and who's living with a grandmother who's living on his farm. Now, the fact that he's actually her uncle, it's not. They tell it to you, but the logic is not there. They show you photos of him, younger him and her on a horse as a child, and then they have this Indian man or Mexican man who might be his father. It's so weird, like how they try to make this stick. Anyways, the fact that she is his uncle is not realistic, doesn't make sense, and they don't really explain how. If he had a sister, which they don't talk about at all, then it would make sense. So anyways, his niece, Gabriella, finds out that her father, her biological father, is in Mexico. Her friend calls her up saying, I found him. She just graduated from high school, and she defies her grandmother and Rambo's wishes, and she goes to find her uncle. We find out he's a Mexican, and he never wanted her in the first place, and he's a really bad guy. Now, if he was the enemy, it would make more sense. If he was like the antagonist, it would probably make more sense. But no, they don't go there. They decided he's in, he's out. That's it. She finds him, and then that's like, he had no real significant role. The friend betrays her and makes her and puts her into a sex slave, becomes a sex trafficking ring in Mexico. So Rambo goes in there, saves her. Tries to save her. She gets shot up with heroin. When he starts showing his picture around, they know he's the gringo who's making a lot of waves. So they beat him up severely, and they overdose her. And then when he comes to 4 days later, all healed up, thanks to Paz Vega, who's a reporter. Carmen, I'm a little over, because that's basically her. That's her role. That was like, yeah. I'm a big fan of Paz Vega, and I'm just so sad that they never really utilized her that much in this movie. Anyways, so she's a reporter. She's been following this cartel, or the sex traffickers, because her sister was lost to them and she died, and she's trying to bring them down. And that's where it begins and ends with that character. I'm a big fan of Paz Vega. I mean, she's done Spanglish and 10 Items or Less. Those were English speaking movies. But I'm more a fan of the early 2000s. A lot of basically her Latin American Spanish speaking films that I'm more impressed with, because she's a great dramatic actress. She's a great comedic actress, and she's a very, very beautiful woman. And I think she's not utilized at all to her potential in this movie, and it's sort of sad, because I was looking when I found out she's the co-star with Stallone. I was really excited to see this film, mostly to see Paz Vega, because I think she's a tremendous actress, and I thought this might be the thing that gets her into the door of Hollywood, to be recognized as a celebrity, or as a star, or as a potential star. Even though she's getting up there in the age, it doesn't matter, because she's still a beautiful and amazing actress. I know she has a lot to give, and there's a talent that's not mined with her. And this film does her no favors whatsoever. Anyways, so Rambo goes back, saves his niece, and on the way back to the farm, he's saying to her, like, you're the best thing about me. You're the light. Everything about this world it's just darkness, and you show me there's so much good in the world, and he puts all the emphasis on her of how pure and good she is, and then she dies on the way back to the farm. And then once you realize all the positive is now gone, that means that gives him carte blanche to become a full-on psychopathic killer, to go after these guys who did her wrong and did him wrong. And that's a story. That's it. He does the A-team thing, which I refer to as the A-team thing. He goes, he arms up, he kills a bunch of Mexicans in this film, and he leaves the bad guy for last, and he goes after him Mortal Kombat style. He goes after him. He does a fatality right out of Kano in the first Mortal Kombat, which is sort of funny because in that same year, or he got the rights to do MK11, this bonus expansion pack of Rambo came out. So I'm guessing there was some sort of like connection, and the reason why they did that has something to do with the MK game coming out, and that's why they picked that particular ending for the bad guy, or the bad hombre. Okay, so speaking, now why am I going with that bad hombre? Because it's very political. This film, I try to not look at it as a political statement, but it's so blatantly obvious. Adrian Grunberg, the director, he's done one other big film. I don't know if we call it big. It's called Get the Gringo with Mel Gibson. He's worked with Gibson as his DP, director of photography. He's worked on Apocalypto and a bunch of films. He's really talented, like really talented as a director of photography. And in the second 80s, sorry, not director of photography, the second 80. He's been with Gibson for a number of years, and Gibson is also a polarizing character. So I'm guessing the political right wing agenda is in his wheelhouse, and that's where he's leaning to. I'm more disappointed in Stallone agreeing with a lot of those things, but I guess if you want someone to have a strong opinion to evoke an emotion, I guess you succeeded, with because at the time, of course, the political leader of that time was still there, and of course he incited a riot. So I don't know how you look at it. So Rambo: Last Blood. Okay, so what's a good movie? For an action sequence, at the end, amazing, because it was what you want. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see him going after these guys. But though as a director and him Frankensteining his enemies, like, so that's a term they used in Expendables with Dolph Lundgren. The level of violence and the body carnage, the body horror carnage in the last Rambo and with Expendables, Stallone has entered a whole different level of violence onto its own. And you get a little bit. You get that here too. People are getting cut up and shredded and just decimated. Now, here's the thing about this movie. The movie is 89 minutes long. Now, that's because of the scene that was cut out of both the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. There's a bonus scene there's an opening scene where he saves he saves a camper from a heavy rainstorm. There was three campers who got lost in the woods, and he's able to save one, and he's kind of down on himself for not saving them all. But that sequence is so amazing. That is like the best part of the movie was the opening scene that no one saw, and I was like, that could have been like the highlight of the movie, like the ending of a movie. That would have been amazing, and we don't get that. But it kind of sets up the tone of this is a guy who cares a lot and has trouble letting go, and the fact that he's on meds because for his PTSD illustrates how much he hasn't been able to fully acclimate to society, and yet he's been home at the farm for 10 years since the last Rambo. And I think that's an unfortunate thing, because the beginning really gives you more of a character analysis of John Rambo. We find out his father was Reeves Rambo, because he visits the gravesite, and there's the character development. I wish there was more of it. There wasn't, and it could have been better. But I will give this movie a middle of the road. It's not that great. You can watch it on YouTube. I think if they could show you the final the highlight scene when he goes after the bad guys, and if you look at it as just that, it's fine. It's actually okay to watch it for the final fight scenes. Because they play these Mexicans as being the villains, which is fine. Yeah, if you are Latin American, it puts a bad taste in your mouth. Obviously, I agree with that, and there's nothing right about doing that. But I guess in Hollywood, you have to pick a group that's the bad guy. It's not. That's just the way they've done it over the years. That's been their model, and it should change, especially in this time, especially in this day of age where we're being very much aware of everyone's feelings, and whether it's woke or whatever. I mean, we're being more aware of the consequences of being that way. So I guess it's a good thing to be more alert of how people are being portrayed and only know the music of that time. That's why you saw a picture of Hendrix and the Doors. In the opening sequence, you hear the song again. He listens to it before he goes to bed to try and calm him down. So there's stuff in it that makes sense. I would love to start watching interviews with Adrian Greenberg to get his thoughts in making this movie and what he was trying to do, what his influences was, who was in his ear, like what got them here, and then the writers, like what was it that made these, like, because I know there was various incarnations of this movie, and there was various takes of this movie, so they're different, and they cut it down for time. They wanted a really tight short movie to get a lot of airtime or repeat times in theaters per day, which is why it was 89. Which is why it was 89 minutes. But I really like to see a better version of this, because I know there is. It's just that we will never see it. And proof is in the opening sequence that was never really aired in Canada, the U.S., or the U.K. And luckily, I was able to see it and thought that was tremendous. It gives you a lot of backstory of the character and more emotional gravitas to the character. And for those who've seen it in the theaters, you were denied a great opening sequence which didn't go anywhere. And of course, the only problem with that is that he lives in Bowie, Arizona. This looks like it's in Oregon, or Oregon. Sorry, it looks like it was in Oregon, or Colorado, because of the terrain and the trees. But other than that, and the fact that he horseback rides back to where he is, to his ranch, the terrain is completely different, so he's traveled a great distance. But that's me being overlogical, and the fact that he is not Gabriella's biological uncle, and they don't explain that. They show you in pictures, which again shows you nothing, and they just tell it to you, which I guess I'm overthinking it. It's kind of bad. There were some things in it there were plot holes and problems with it. There were red flags for me from the beginning. Besides the political problems with it, but I don't know. I just say watch a YouTube highlight of the final fight sequences, and that's good enough. If you like Home Alone, if you like the A-Team, then the final act is the best part of this movie. The first 40 minutes of the actual movie itself is really forgettable, and I would recommend to skip it. But if you could get a mashup of the ending, go for that. That's probably the best part of it. So anyways, with that, I'm going on. I'm Ray. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.